year-long war in Afghanistan. That was the last major assignment for US troops. It ended in chaos, confusion and the collapse of a country. Now the mighty American military has a new mission: protecting Europe. That's right. Europe could become the next battleground. It already is with Ukraine, but the war in Ukraine has proved to be a security nightmare for the EU. It has no option but to prepare for a wider conflict. America agrees with this assessment, so it will ramp up US forces in Europe. The UK and Germany say they will contribute too. The result is this: a massive build-up on NATO's eastern flank. Why now, you may ask? Is Europe afraid that Russia will attack beyond Ukraine? What is their threat assessment? In the next 4 minutes, we'll discuss. First, let's listen to Joe Biden. This is the US president announcing fresh American deployments in Europe.
We've reaffirmed that our Article 5 commitment is sacred, and an attack on one is an attack on all, and we will defend every inch of NATO territory. Every inch of NATO territory. Together, our allies, we're going to make sure that NATO is ready to meet threats from all directions across every domain: land, air, and the sea. In a moment when Putin has shattered peace in Europe and attacked the very tenets of rule-based order, the United States and our allies, we're going to step up. We're stepping up. We're proving that NATO is more needed now than it ever has been, and it's as important as it ever has been.
This was Biden's assessment. He said this during the NATO summit in Madrid yesterday. Today was the final day of that summit. America has made two clear conclusions. Number one, Putin cannot be trusted. And number two, America's allies feel threatened. And that gives Joe Biden a reason to mobilize his military. So where will American troops be deployed? Let's give you a breakdown. A brigade will be stationed in Romania. 2,000 American troops will be deployed here. Plus 3,000 soldiers will be stationed in Romania on a rotational basis. So that means a total deployment of 5,000 troops. Next is the United Kingdom. It will host 2 squadrons of American F-35 fighters. The third location is Spain. 2 American Navy destroyers will be moved there. Remember, Spain already has 4 American destroyers, so now it will have a total of 6. America is deploying air defense systems too. They will be sent to Italy and Germany. But their biggest move will be in Poland. Here, the US is planning a permanent military headquarters. The 5th Army Corps of the US military will be stationed in Poland. This is a combat force. And here's something you should know. The US already has over 100,000 troops in Europe. Before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, they had 80,000 troops in Europe. When Russia attacked, the US sent another 20,000, so a total of 100,000. Now it will add more. The United Kingdom and Germany are also committing more resources. The UK will send an extra 1,000 troops to Estonia. They already have 2,000 soldiers there. London will also keep warplanes and an aircraft carrier on standby. What about Germany? Reports say the Germans will commit a brigade-sized force to Lithuania. So NATO is now effectively moving into an aggressive posture. What does it look like? Let me show you. On your screen is NATO's eastern flank. You can call this the front line of NATO. This is what Europe needs to defend if there is a war with Russia. The focus here is on 8 countries: Estonia, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, and Bulgaria. Now, NATO has a strong presence across this region. How many troops are we talking about? At least 324,000 soldiers, 324,000 soldiers. These are soldiers of the host country and allied nations, meaning these are NATO forces, plus their air defense equipment. So NATO now has some serious firepower on its eastern flank. And this is a very big shift. A few months back, NATO was facing an existential crisis. French President Emmanuel Macron had called this alliance brain dead. That's the term he used, brain dead. NATO lacked an identity and a purpose. Some years back, even Putin wanted to join NATO. He wanted a NATO membership. That should tell you something about how things were back then. Putin said Russia is a part of European culture. Well, that was then. Look at how things have shaped up now. The same Putin is NATO's enemy number 1, the man who has single-handedly galvanized it. So NATO is expanding, getting more members and deploying more troops. How do you think Putin responded? He said this shows their imperial ambitions.
It is a means to protect their own interests, that is, with the hands of Ukrainians and the Ukrainian people. NATO members and leading NATO countries simply want to assert themselves, further assert their role in the world, confirm the leadership of their hegemony in the trust sense of the word, their imperial ambitions.
Putin had a message for Sweden and Finland too. Their entry into NATO is now just a matter of time. Putin said he has no problems with NATO's expansion, but if they deploy infrastructure in Finland and Sweden, he would respond differently. That's what he said. He has vowed to match NATO's deployments.
As for Sweden and Finland, we do not have such problems with them that we have with Ukraine. Unfortunately, we have no territorial issues or disputes. We have nothing to worry about in terms of membership of Finland and Sweden in NATO. Well, they want it, please. They only must clearly understand that there were no threats to them before. Now, if military contingents and infrastructure are deployed there, we will have to respond in a mirror manner.
What would a Russian mirror deployment mean? More missiles, more warships, even nuclear weapons. Russia may have made the NATO stronger, but Putin will not shy away from sending a message. This conflict is only intensifying. WION is now available in your country.
Give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, by Shema Rashai. Double honor to the apostles, brothers, the great millstone, and the elders. To the one, to the hope of the elect. Shalom. Let's go to 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 1. 15, verse 1. Oh, he said, "Behold, speak, behold, speak, in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I put in their mouth, saith the Lord. I cause to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true." Right, for they are faithful and true. It said, "Fear not the imagination against thee. Let not the encouragement of thy trouble thee. They speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness." Verse 5, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." Verse 6, chapter 15, verse 6. "For the wicked hath exceedingly pollute the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled." Right, the hurtful works are fulfilled. Verse 7, "Therefore, saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as I touch their weakness, which the profane committed another, without suffer them in those days, in those things in which the wicked exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood cry unto me, and the soul of just complaining is free." Let me see. Second chapter, 15. No, that's all right. Let's go to 2 Ezra chapter 9. Chapter 9, verse 1. "And he answered me and said, Measure the time diligently in thyself. When thou see part of the sign pass, which I told you before, thou shalt understand that it is the very same time within the highest will begin to visit the world which he made." Right, he will visit the world which he made. Verse 3. "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, and they shall well understand that the Most High spoken of those things from the day that was before thee, even from the beginning." Right, even from the beginning. Verse 5, "For like as all that is made in the world had a beginning, and an end and the end is manifest, right? The end is manifest. Verse 6, even so the time also of the highest have planned beginning, wonders and power and works and in effect and signs. And everyone that should be saved should be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby you have believed, right? Verse 8 should be preserved from the sin parent and shall see my salvation in my land, within my borders, for I have sanctified thee for me from the beginning. And they should be in pitiful case, right? They should be in pitiful case. But now I have abused my ways, and they have cast them away despiteful, should dwell in turmoil, right? Dwell in turmoil. Verse 10, for sure as in their life, have received benefit and have not known me, right? Have not. Verse 11, and they have loosed my law, with that yet liberty, and that yes place of repentance was open unto them, understood not but despised it, right? Understood not but despised it. Man. Move on. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 7 verse 14. Ezekiel chapter 7 verse 14. It said, I have blown the trumpet even to make all ready, but none go to the battle, from my wrath upon all multitudes thereof. Right? So Ezekiel chapter 7 verse 14, that have blown the trumpet even to make all ready, but none go to the battle, for my wrath is upon all the multitudes thereof. Let me see what else I got. Go to Isaiah. Isaiah 55 and 6, it says, seek ye the Lord while he may be found, and call upon him while he is near. Right? Seek ye the Lord while he may be found, and call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his ways, and the righteous man his thoughts. Let her return to the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him to our power, for he will abundant apart, right? For he will abundant apart. Man. Isaiah 55 verse 8, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heaven are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thought than your thoughts, right? So right, seek the Lord. Hold on. Lord, may be felt. Let's go to Isaiah 55 and 11. Isaiah 55 11. So shall my word be that going forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall not, but it shall accomplish that. Read it again. Isaiah 55 verse 11. It says, shall my words be that going forth out of my mouth. It should not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall purpose in the things which I sent it. Right. What is it? Let's go to Matthew. Matthew 24 verse 3. And he sat upon the Mount of Olivet, and the disciples came unto him, privately, and said, tell us, what should those things be, and what should it be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? Right, end of the world. Verse 4, and Yahweh shall answer and said, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come on my name, say, Mashiach, deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that, be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, but the end is not yet. Verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine and pestilence, earthquake in diverse places, and all these are the beginning of sorrows. Right. Matthew 24, verse 14. Let's go to verse 13. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Right, the same shall be saved. Verse 14. Matthew 24, verse 14. It said, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for his witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Right. Then shall the end come. Matthew 24, verse 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Right. Those days be shortened, man. For the elect's sake. Matthew 24, verse 22. And except those days should be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Matthew 24, verse 42. Now go to verse 44. Therefore be you also ready, for sure, as hour as you think not the Son of Man coming. Right, be you also ready. Let's see what else I got. Let's go to Luke. Luke. Luke 21, verse 19. No, Luke 21, verse 9. But you shall hear of wars and commotion. Be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Right? The end is not by and by. Luke 21, verse 25. The returning of the anointed. Luke 21, verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and the moon, and there stars upon the earth, to stress of nation, will perpetually the sea and waves of war were. Man's heart failed then for fear for looking for after fear and looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the power of heaven shall be shaken. Right. The power of heaven shall be shaken. What else? Move on. Let's go to Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 17. Which is the judgment. Let's go to verse 14. The great day of the Lord is near, and haste great, even the voice of the Lord, or the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry bitter. Right. The mighty man shall cry bitter. Verse 15. The day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble, and a day of stress. No. Zephaniah 1:15 again. It's a day of wrath. Hold on. It's that day. It's a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasted and desolate, a day of darkness and gloomy, a day of cloud and thick darkness, a day of trumpet, alarm against the fenced city and against the high tower. And I will bring stress upon man, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and the blood should be poured out dust in their flesh as a dove. Nevertheless, their silver nor their gold should be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. But the whole land should be devoured by fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy render of all them that dwell in the land. Right, dwell in the land. Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. Zephaniah 2, verse 1. It said, gather yourself together, O nation not desired, before the decree bring forth, before the day passeth the chaff, before the fury anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord anger come upon you. Seek ye the Lord, all the meek of the earth, which have brought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be you should be here to the day of the Lord's anger, right? You may be here to the day of the Lord's anger. Man. We got it again. Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. It said, gather yourself together. You gather together, O nation not desired, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fury anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord anger come upon you. Seek ye the Lord, all the meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be you shall be hidden in the day of the Lord's anger. Right? Maybe hidden in the day of the Lord's anger. Yeah. So what else? I think that'll be it right there, man. So right, hey, seek ye the Lord while he may be found, man. So I'm gonna close out right there. So hey, give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, by Shema Bashar, double honor to the apostles and elders, and great millstone. Shalom to the host of the elect. Shalom.